So we've all come from different places, different activities. So what we'll do is, just so that we can get on the same page, we'll chant Om 3 times, and then we'll sit. And Yo-Yo, if at any time you have any questions, just raise your hand and ask. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. You know, because I don't look at you as a kid. Are you a kid? Yes, you're a kid. But also you're a person, just like anybody else in the room. So whatever question you have is equally valid and equally important to me to respond to. Okay? So we're all on the same page. So we'll just bring our spines erect, and then you'll take a deep breath in, and the outgoing breath you'll chant Om. And then just a few moments of silence. And then gently take a deep breath in. Release the breath. And then open the eyes. Good. You can open the door behind you. I see one more coming. Excuse me. With that micro meditation, this is you don't realize it, but it's a very, very important skill. They have that saying, "Stop the world, I want to get off." It's really important to learn how to just stop, you know, to be able to sort of rest in a pause. Because otherwise, come Susan, you can sit here. I normally sit over here. Oh, there, yeah. Susan's been studying, I don't know, 16 years, 20 years. A long time.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to be late.
What? Okay. Yeah, getting that habit of just learning how to stop. You have to learn how to stop on a dime. You know, most of us try to get a running start and then stop. No, this is part of your yogic training. You know, when you take that breath in and then release the breath, you're releasing everything. You release everything. Just let it all go. Because if you don't release everything, you're distracted. You're in some state of distraction. Which means, how do you pay attention to God if you're distracted? See? So that releasing of the breath is allowing you to release the common world and become present to the subtle world. See? So it's important. And over time, you should be able to do it in a breath, in one breath. You know? And it's just practice. You know, it's not rocket science. It's just practice. Let go, release, just completely release, and be present. Just like if we were to have a conversation, a personal conversation, you'll become present in that personal conversation, and everything else that's going on is put aside. So that's what you have to learn to do. Is just to put everything aside, just drop it. then you can be present, and you can see what's going on in a deeper reality. So today, where did I put my glass? Oh, there they are. Also, today should be. You should ask a million questions if you can drum them up. It's an important topic. You know, how close to God can we get in this lifetime? That's a pretty good topic. You know? So, you know, ask, and there's many ways of doing it. And the truth is, you can get much further than you imagine. But no one told you how. And there's a million ways how. But it's like anything. You have to build the craft of communion into your life. You know, we have the craft of diversion. We've got like 10,000 hats we're wearing, and we're going in 10,000 directions. But if you go into a fisherman's home, there's all kinds of things related to the craft of fishing. You know, if you go into an artist's home, there's all kinds of things related to the craft of art in their home. They're living with it. So the same thing with God. You know, you sort of have to build God into your life. Either you build it in or it's not there. You know, either you're actively building that activity into your life, or it's just not happening. It's just coffee table talk, you know, cafe talk, but nothing of any substance. You have to become aware of the very obstacles that are present in your life, in all of our lives, to block that divine conversation. Over time, God can't be an other. Right now, God is sort of an existential other, sort of a hopeful, joyful maybe. Not a great position for God. God should be as real as if an anvil fell on your foot. That's pretty real. That'll get your attention. Heaven's that real. God is that real. But for most of us, heaven is sort of existential, philosophical, with a big question mark, whether that reality is real or not. So the short statement is, you can make tremendous progress in acquiring intimacy with God. Because when you say to know God, that's really what you're talking about. You're really talking about an intimate relationship. You know, not somebody on the other side of the planet, but someone directly, or some reality, consciousness that's directly, intimate and personal. This is the experience of every yogi, every saint, every master, of profound intimacy. So if that profound intimacy is not happening in your life, it means you haven't yet been practicing the craft. It means you're still hopeful, but uninformed. See? Uninformed. That's not bad, because you can become informed and then practice the craft. See? You have to also look at your sort of your psychological status at the moment. So you can say, how much if you have a questionnaire, and the questionnaire goes from 1 to 5, 5 being the most and 1 being the least, you can say, well, how emotionally invested have I been, emotionally and intellectually invested have I been with my parents? So you can give yourself a rating of 1 to 5. Like if your parent dropped dead today, how much would that affect you emotionally and psychologically? And then ask yourself, how much emotionally invested are you in your significant other, your husband, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, wife? What level of emotional investment are you? Look at it from 1 to 5. How emotionally invested are you in your career? Again, look at it from 1 to 5. Just mark it in. How much invested are you in your financial existence? Again, mark it in from 1 to 5. So you'll see that we all have tremendous emotional and psychological investments, of which all fine. Maintain them. Now ask yourself the question, what emotional investment do you have in God? And mark that in 1 to 5. Be honest though. Don't say philosophically I'm a 5 when you're really, realistically a 2. Be honest. Because if you're not honest, you've got nowhere to go. You got nowhere to go if you're not honest. The difference between, if you're thinking of God as a maybe, well, whether God is there or not, I can live with that. As opposed to getting a call saying your significant other just left, passed away. Where's the level of emotional response there? See? So let's say God is this cosmic question. Then it's more about you saying, okay, how do I get at this notion of God so I can make an emotional or a psychological investment in it? Because as long as God maintains just a big question mark, sort of amorphous question mark, how invested can you really be? You're at best just hopeful. So maybe it's time to sort of try to redefine the notion of God so that you can get some sense of investment in it. Just like if you know nothing about art, you have no investment in it. But all of a sudden you start to become interested in art and start to study art and start to see art and start to see the world through art. Don't you emotionally and intellectually become invested in it? Can you imagine the world without music? Or without sculpture, without art? Can you imagine the world without that? See how unconsciously invested you are in it? You're very invested in it. So we have to start to say, okay, all these yogis, all these saints, all these masters have talked about God, but how do we acquire some kind of investment in it so that it actually means something to us? It's not just a metaphorical story. Well, maybe you can say, well, I'm interested in truth. That's a good thing. So maybe start to investigate God as truth. So you ask that question, what is truth? Another way you can say it is, what is real? So if God becomes an investment in what is truth, you have a place to stand. Or you can say, if God is beauty, ultimate beauty, what is beauty? Or you can say, if God is love, ultimate love, what is love? You know, but you have to really say, what is love? You know, what does that mean? You know, where have I experienced it? Where have I observed it? See? You know, how can I invest and help to generate and nurture love? See? So you can come at it as truth, as beauty, as love. See? You have to find some place to get hold of something. See? If you grab the hem of my jacket, of my cloth here, eventually the whole Hari will look. See? But you only have to get onto a thread. You don't have to do the whole bear hug. Just grab a thread, and eventually the whole entity will turn and take a look. Will respond. So I'm not saying that love is all of God, or that truth is all of God. From where we stand, it's just a part. But if you grab onto that part, you'll get the whole package. See? But you have to get serious with your relationship with your parents, your significant other, loved one, your children, your craft. You've got tremendous emotional and intellectual investment in that. No problem. Maintain it. We're not saying, go onto a mountaintop and forget it all. We're not saying that at all. We're saying that you have to make at least equal investment. That's it. Heaven is as invested in your mother and your lover and your children as you are. So heaven's not going to try to part you from any of that. Not at all. Heaven simply wants a place at the table. That's all. If you see Jesus in the Last Supper, he wasn't sitting by himself. The kingdom was sitting there with all of his brothers and sisters. See? So heaven's not trying to part you from your life at all. Enjoy. Invest. But heaven wants to be at the table. and not as a maybe other possible ghost like that. No. As a fully invested, present, participant. Can you love your husband and boyfriend? Go for it. But also, learn to love God. Go for it. It'll make everything else richer. If you learn about God in truth, not God in mythology, but God in truth, everything else becomes a loving expression. Your compassion, your kindness, your sensitivity, your creativity. If all of that is getting amped up because you're starting to have this divine cosmic relationship, don't you think you bring it to your parents and to your husband and to your wife and to your children and to your craft? So you end up bringing this massive package along with you. You live on an immensely rich life in whatever you touch, with whomever you're with. You become the person that when they walk in the room, everyone is saying yes, because you're bringing something to the table. You're bringing a presence and an insight and an influence to the table that everybody is actually hungry for. See? You're bringing a cosmic community to the temple, that we're all thirsty for. If I kept feeding you salt water, wouldn't you get more and more thirsty no matter how much water I gave you? Yes. As opposed to bringing some fresh spring water, which would be completely refreshing. Most of us in our relations, we're handing out little capsules of salt water. Everyone's happy that it's water, but it's the salt that makes us hungry. So we're needy. We want this, we want that, we want this. As opposed to being whole, refreshed, and able to give. So in this craft of seeking out God and saying, how close can I come to God? Because the whole thing is, you got to go from myth and theory to genuine, real experience. Basically, if you're still dealing with myth and theory, you're sort of like walking in a forest just with a candle. Not much light. You got to find ways to really make it real and understand. So you have to learn to hang out with some yogis or some Dharma teachers. If you're lucky to get that's a really, really good start, because your environment is huge. Who you hang out with, who you keep company with, immensely rubs off. It's not a little rub off, immensely rubs off. You hang out with musicians, you become musical. Hang out with artists, you acquire that craft. Hang out with mechanical people, you acquire that mechanical vision. See? It's immensely important. So you have to slowly start to build into your life those influences that help to keep you aware. We live in a world that has many, many, many forces. You have the force of cosmic Maya. Cosmic Maya is that force in nature that is delusionary in nature. So you see one thing, but you interpret it as another. That's a real problem. It also stirs your psychic pot for you to dream your own reality. So if you have 30 people in the room, everyone's dreaming their own reality. Everyone is feeling completely separate. If God is the ultimate unifying energy, and we're stirring our pots as a completely individualized expressions, we're at odds. We're in a counterpoint with reality. You have the right to do that, but it does make life very, very lonely. Because the more you do it, the more isolated you are, the more out of community you are. Ultimately, we're born to be in intimate community with life via consciousness. See? Intimate community with life via consciousness. But because we're in our own personal dream, we're losing more and more intimacy. See? We're more and more self-consumed, so we're not really considering your welfare. We're thinking about my welfare, individualized welfare. And the more we do that, more out of community. So we're collapsing into our own loneliness, our own separation, our own desperation. Very difficult. Very, very difficult. As opposed to, acquiring an intimacy where we can quietly enter into our heart and then realize through that deep observation that our deep mystic heart is not simply localized to this clay pot, but as we watch it, we're just like shocked to realize that that heart is expanding, 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 and it becomes intimate with all of life. It's no longer localized. See? Right now we're very localized, but if you go deep and be peaceful and be present, you break through your own egoic shell and allow your awareness to become aware of the natural condition of your consciousness. Not your contrived, manipulated consciousness, but its natural condition. Its natural condition is expansive. Sat Chit Ananda. See? Infinite knowing, infinite space, infinite joy. And it's not contained. See? But these are the processes of revelation that you have to go through. See? It's natural. Revelation is natural. But for it to happen, you have to stop dreaming. You have to wake up a little bit. See? Maya is like a cosmic crop dusher. Have you ever seen those crop dusters that were in the 50s and in the 30s, where they flew over fields and sprayed insecticide? Well, that's sort of like a magic pixie dust to make you fall asleep. That's what Maya is. Maya flies over your field. You're standing in the middle of the field, and you get doused with a dose of sleep. And then you enter into your own cosmic dream. And then you're wrapped up in this dream, and you're saying, oh, this is life. But really, you're sleeping in the dream. You've fallen down into the field, and you're dreaming. And it's a very dynamic dream. So, why wake up? You're like in your kingdom. You're like a mini mogul in your own psyche. So who wants to say, I don't want to be a mogul? You all want to be a mogul. That's what your ego's all about. You want to be the king and queen in your creation. See? Then the Dharma teachers come and say, hey, wake up. Hey, Raj, come with me. Hey, talk to you, walk with you. Hey, shave your head like me. That's like Victor. We've got the same barber. And then you learn to say, okay, you ask yourself the question, who in humanity has had the greatest, most productive and long-lasting effect? Who's been like the mega good guy in humanity, or the mega good woman in humanity? Who's done the most to bring joy, to bring light, to bring prosperity? Then you start looking at the saints and the masters. We have to find a place to start. We have to find a place to model, because we're still walking around in the forest with a candle. Not a whole lot of help. So we say, who's gotten out of this dream pattern, and getting out of that dream pattern, in our eyes, are truly revolutionary. So if you look at the Sri Krishna and the Buddha and Jesus and all of these great ones, they are mega radicals. They are massive radicals. They're telling you to wake up. They're telling you to do things that society is not sanctioning. But if you want to wake up, they're the way out. They are definitely the way out. So it's possible. The Buddhas and the Krishnas and the all these saints, Jesus they wouldn't come to this planet if it wasn't possible for you to have intimacy. See? They realize you're just napping, so they come and quietly jostle you, so that you take up some awareness, as opposed to dozing through your life. We all have friends and family that if you meet them today and you meet them 25 years later, they're going to be exactly the same. It's not bad. It's just they're dozing. They're not waking up to any greater truths. We all have brothers and sisters and friends just like that, to be honest. We talk to them 10 years later, they're saying exactly the same stuff. They haven't awakened. They haven't woken up. They haven't grappled with any truth to see what juice they can squeeze out of it. See? It's just same old, same old, same old. They kick the bucket. See? If you do that, you don't make much progress. You don't have much insight. You don't have much experience. You basically, what the yogis say, they call that a dog chasing its tail. Dog chasing its tail is really happy. It's barking, it's having fun, but it's going absolutely nowhere. It's joyfully running in circles, chasing after its tail. Completely joyful, getting lots of exercise, but it's accomplished absolutely nothing. So do you really want that for yourself? A joyful dog chasing its tail? With all the potentiality heaven gave you, that's the best you can do. See? So you look at these great masters and start to ponder their philosophy. And then you start to say, okay, what are the mechanisms that they said to utilize? So you can go on pilgrimage. Pilgrimage is a way of waking up. You go to all these holy spots where significant events happen, where significant people did significant things. That helps you to wake up. You can start to read some scriptures. Okay, this saint wrote this master wrote that. Start to read their literature to see what they had to say. And say, well, this is my life, this is their life. Where can we find some common ground? Maybe we don't want to climb to the mountaintop, but maybe we can find some other things that we can. You don't have to take the whole package. You take what you can manage. So you take what you can manage and work with that. See, until you can manage more. See? When you're lifting weights in the beginning, you're only lifting 50 pounds. Later on, you're lifting 100. But in the beginning, you're just curling, your 35, 50 pounds. That's all you're doing. But that's not where you finish. That's just where you start. So that association, whether it's through literature or whether it's through pilgrimage or whether it's through direct association, with the teachers, these are ways of trying to skillfully get the information you need to become awake, alert, become present. You can make immense progress. You could acquire immense intimacy with God. You could acquire immense personal evolution if you dedicate yourself to becoming more aware, becoming more present. See? To become aware that you're in a dream pattern. See? If you don't know you're going to dream, there's no incentive. If you don't know you're in the dream, there's no incentive to wake up. See? If you don't realize you're living a life as a mini mogul in your own personal psychic drama. So you can say to yourself, okay, my own psychic drama is personalized and individualized to me. Then ask yourself the question, well, what else is going on that is present in me, but also present every place else. So you know what's individualized. Well, what's universalized? Just turn your mind around and say, what is universally going on? I know intimately what's personally going on in my own drama. But see, again, you understand the concept of mini mogul. As long as you're thinking of yourself as the center of the universe, and that's where everything starts, you are so trapped. you will put yourself in such a cage. You have to say, what is universal? What is universal? And really try to latch onto it. Try to see it. Try to experience what is really universal, not what is hugely personalized. The more you concentrate on the personalized, you're like a collapsing star, getting denser and denser and denser. See? You eventually become some vacuous black hole. Now I'm talking about an area that I have no knowledge of, so excuse any technical error. I'm just trying to make a point, but not technically correct. So, you go on pilgrimage, do these things. So you can say, I can't go to the Holy Lands of Israel. I can't go to the places in Syria. I can't go to the places in India. It's so far away, so much money. You could still go on pilgrimage. Something simple. Here we are in the Bay Area. Something that I do all the time is sort of a lot of fun. Pick one district in San Francisco and go Google churches in the Mission or churches in whatever district you want. And pick a Sunday and go to every church you can go to. It's a fantastic experience. You can probably make 6-7 churches in a day. So you make a Sunday pilgrimage. Pick a district in San Francisco and try to go to every church that you can in that district. You're going to see wonderful art. Will all remind you of the sacred. You're going to enter each building, which every single one of them has a different feeling. Walk into each church, you'll feel the difference. They're not the same, depending on the devotion and the nature of those people. Everyone's going to feel different. They all have fantastically interesting history. They all have fantastically interesting architecture. You're walking into an environment. You can probably make 6 or 7 in a day. Really, 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 unless you do it, just do it. You'll change your day. You will change your day. But because every church that you walk into is a face of God. Just get real about this. This is a manifestation. That building was put up for God. Every one is a different face. So try to make as many as you can in a day. Pack a lunch. So you can go on pilgrimage. Do it once a month. Pick a different district, and do it once a month. And San Francisco is a fantastic place to do it because there's a billion churches, large and small, that are absolutely wonderful. Absolutely. Just do it once a month. Pick a Sunday and go. Or pick a Saturday and go. Go with your friends. Do something significant. So it's these types of things. Every time you pass through these different doors, there's a Shakti, there's an energy that's helping you to wake up. And then you can start to see the beauty. This is a manifest beauty of God. So there's music in those churches. Look at the stained glass of those churches. Look at the architecture of those churches. Every one of those is a type of Shakti to wake you up. There's a visible energy in the church itself. So there's many, 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 many energies, all to wake you up. And then you go from this big mega church, and then you'll find some little tiny church, but as potent, as interesting, as spiritual as the other church, big giant church, but in its own unique way. Okay? These are the kinds of things that you have to build into your life. You know, start going on pilgrimage. So maybe you can't make it to India this year, but you certainly can make it to San Francisco. You know, or whatever village or city that you're in. Go visit their churches. See? Talk to the various priests. See what they have to say. You know, some are common men, some are spiritual men. It's good to know. So, when you finally come across a Dharma teacher, then you can start to learn, you know, the craft of prayer, the craft of mantra, the craft of meditation, and ask 1,000 questions. You're like, what does this stuff mean? What does prayer mean? You know, and keep asking until you're satisfied. You know, like with prayer. In the beginning, in my early days, I used to just practice mostly meditation, and then later on a lot of mantra, and then prayer. But prayer actually came last for me because I was thinking about it. I actually thought about it for about 25 years in the back of my mind. What is this prayer? Because I knew it was important because all these great masters are doing it. But I honestly didn't understand it. I simply didn't understand it. Like, what is going on with prayer? And in the back of my mind, there's always this thing about prayer going on, and reading different teachers and what they're talking about. You know, until eventually, maybe I was a slow student. Eventually, all the pieces of the puzzle started to come together, and then you realize, holy mackerel, this is like one of the most beautiful creations imaginable. And then after that starts happening, you cannot consider ever a day without prayer. But it took 20, 25 years of me thinking about it all the time in the back of my mind about what it meant and, you know, how did it work and what are the mechanics of it, what are the benefits of it. Not just the common stupid benefits like I want a car so I pray for a car, but, you know, the benefits that actually are soul expansion, you know, cosmic intelligent expansions, things that come about it. You know, prayer is a divine alchemy. You know, it reforms the very fabric of your consciousness. You know, you become a living blessing. You become a living blessing, and the blessing of the kingdom flows through you without your interference. See? Even just touching something accidentally, the blessing of prayer will flow through you. And it's not just in your head. You'll feel it. You'll feel the breath of God pass through you. See? But that's when you actually start to find ways of constantly practicing. And then you start to become aware of its alchemy that's going on in your consciousness, in your being. You know? So these are the things. So all of a sudden, when that energy of God is viscerally flowing through you, I think you've made a little bit of progress. You know, God is no longer an other. Just like if you and I stand outside on a breezy day, you feel the wind. It's not maybe. The wind blew. The same thing with prayer. That wind of God will simply blow through you. You know, you're just sort of a conduit. You just become sort of a conduit that this breath flies through you. And it's and with everything, it has its own nature, its own quality, its own characteristics. Like you can have a warm breeze and a balmy breeze and a cool breeze. You can have a sanctified breeze blow through you. You know, and when it first starts to happen, it's quite shocking. Like, where did that come from? You know, but this is not unique to any individual. This is part of the human condition. Once you become a little bit aware, you know, a little bit sensitive, a little bit open. The more you're saying me, you're sort of like an armadillo. You know, you've got a big shell. You know, quit with the me stuff. You know, can you imagine where the world would be if Jesus started saying me, 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 or Buddha started saying me, 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 or were they working for the welfare of the world? You know, these are planetary teachers, Sri Krishna. They're planetary dharma. It wasn't about them. It was about a divine cosmic sacrifice that they were making for the welfare of all, for all of us. So that we all could be joyful. We could all be prosperous. See, we all could have possibility. See? So you learn that these crafts of prayer, of mantra, of meditation, of ceaseless giving without a sense of loss, without a sense of diminishment. Like, I gave, now I'm exhausted. It's not like that, you know? You know, like somebody owes you something because you gave so much. If you're still doing that, you still don't know anything yet. Just being honest with you. You know, you have to learn to give like a river. If you take a cup of water out of a river, does it offer you a bill? No. You know, as long as you're giving based on your ego, you want to hand out some bills. But if you're giving on the basis of your expansive consciousness, it's just a joyful act. It's just a joyful flowing of the Ganga. You know, it's just, thank God I can do something beautiful. You're happy that you can do something beautiful. It stops there. It stops there. There's no bill. See? And you're pulling from an infinite resource. There's no personal exhaustion. There's no exhaustion at all. You'll see the saints and the sages and the masters giving, you know, exhaustively, constantly, under all conditions. Because they're going through a joyful revelation of that act of giving, that act of sacrifice, that act of allowing the kingdom to pool and flow through them. See? So there's no exhaustion there's no exhaustion in their gift. See? There's an infinite joy in their gift, an instant salvation in there. So, in order for those types of things to occur, which is part of our evolutionary history, it's going to happen. It's just a question of when. It's like, when do you dig your heels in and say, I want to know God. I want to know truth. I want to know love. Dig your heels in and ask that question. And then be really, really fierce in trying to find out. You know, don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on your deepest self. You know, say, you know, Jesus is just sort of an evolutionary pinnacle. Buddha is an evolutionary pinnacle. So what about me? You know, aren't I on the same evolutionary arc? I think so. So they dug their heels in and looked, and then the truth was revealed. So same thing. You know, God didn't make, you know, this level and this level and this level. No, we all have one infinite potentiality. Exercise it. Find it. You know, can't you smile? Can't I smile? Can't you smile? What's the difference? You know, now if we can touch our hearts and then smile, then it becomes even more magnified. See? And if we can touch our hearts and be unselfish, it's even more magnified. See? This is the exercise that we have to do. We have to learn to touch our hearts and smile. You know? But as long as we're just going through the world and not having any kind of deeper communion, I mean, even babies smile. You know, it's natural. It's a natural. Babies laugh. It's natural. You can have babies right out of the womb and it'll be giggling and gurgling and all this kind of stuff. That's natural. It's in all of us. So just find that joyful smile and project it. Everybody on the planet is going to be able to understand that language. Everybody on the planet is enriched just because you took a second to find a little bit of intimacy with something that's completely natural, and then you generated it and projected it. See? The more you do that, find what is absolutely natural, not what is contrived. Your intellect is all about creating lots of infinite, how do you say that word, contriving things? It's let's say your drama, your generated drama. That's on you. That's your creation. That's your psyche. But beneath that, nobody taught you how to laugh. Nobody taught you how to smile. See? Why don't you go back to something that was native to you, not contrived? See? People, you learned how to scheme. You learned how to lie. You learned how to manipulate. But no one had to teach you how to smile. No one had to teach you how to laugh. See? So those are things that are natural, indigenous to you. So go in and try to find that natural smile. And then, from whence did that smile come? What condition was it that made that smile happen? It's there, but you never paid attention. No one asked you to take a look, so you didn't. See, okay, I can naturally laugh. I can naturally smile. Let me sit and think about that. From whence does that come? How did that happen? See? Something that simple. How did it happen? And then turn the mind off. Just be attentive. You know, if there's a joy there, where is it? Let me see. Stop thinking. Start observing. You know? And then, when you can get a thread of it, try to generate it, exercise it. Try to live from that smile. Try to live from that laughter. Try to live from that peace, as opposed to your contrived, psychology, your infinitely vast brain of trying to manipulate the universe, control the universe. It's really very tiresome. Be simple. Learn to be simple. And then you hang around these yogis, and they'll give you a very big intellectual discussion, and then they'll say, be still. All that big intellectual discussion is just to exhaust you. So that you're too tired to make any noise, and you can sit still. If you sit still long enough, you start to find out what's really going on. You get to see, there's the two things. There's what's really going on, and then there's your personal creation. Your personal creation is just sort of very creative mischief. That's really what it is, very creative mischief. Sometimes sad mischief, sometimes joyful mischief, but it's always mischief. Why is it mischief? Because it's taking you away from your natural joy, your natural peace, your natural loving nature. What baby was taught to suckle the mother's breast? Or did they do it perfectly naturally? Did anyone teach the baby to suckle the mother's breast? No. Did anyone teach the baby how to laugh? No. Did anyone teach the baby how to smile? No. Did anyone teach the baby how to embrace its mother? No. See? It's indigenous to you. It was natural to you. So, that's what we have to get back to. So we learn to just come into a quiet peace, and then all the things that are natural before we started creating, that should become our character. That should become our condition. So maybe as the baby, you're suckling the mother's breast. As a adult, now instead of suckling the breast, we can give warmth, we can give empathy, we can give compassion. See, it's another way of embracing human beings, but in an intimate way, but age appropriate. Okay? So having altruism, having compassion, having concern, learning how to listen, learning how to embrace without taking. See? It's the same thing that the baby was doing when they're suckling the mother's breast. A loving, intimate, personal exchange. Innocent. Why can't we do that as adults? You know? Have a truly intimate exchange. You know? Nurturing both. The mother is being as nurtured as the baby is being nurtured as his breast is being, his breastfeeding is going on. They're both being nurtured. They're both finding some common point of intimacy. Why not when we're adults, but age appropriate? You know? So, empathy, compassion, warmth, you know, being present, you know. Sometimes you don't have to talk to anybody, just sit with them. Just be with, like, a lot of times I go when people are passing away. A lot of times it's not about Hari saying this or Hari saying that. Sometimes it's just taking the person's hand and saying, I'm here. I'll stay with you till the end. I'll be present with you. That's it. You know, when that great crisis of transition is happening, often there's not a whole lot that can be said. But you can say, I will be present with you. I'll stand with you. We'll do this together. That's it. See? You don't have to say a lot, but that's just a deeply human, intimate experience. I'll be present with you. You don't have to do this alone. See? Not a whole lot of words have to be said. See? It's a sharing. It's an intimacy. It's an empathy. See? I'll stand with you. We can bring our courage together. See? No one has to teach you that. All you have to do is be human. Nobody has to teach you that. Just be human. Stop thinking. You know, if you see someone fall into a ditch, don't you run to help them? You know? Did anyone have to teach you that? No, that's part of your natural heart. If you're not running to help them, it means you've become denatured. It means you're away from your own heart. See? We're always supposed to, you know, develop a health of the ecology, whether it's a human ecology or any other ecology that you're in. We're always trying to bring health and balance to it. So if someone falls into the ditch and you're heading the other way, isn't there an illness going on? Isn't there a mental illness happening? There's a sickness in the heart? Absolutely. So by being natural, you naturally live. You naturally care. See? You naturally want to do good. It's only when you're denatured, don't you want to care? Don't you want to help? Don't you want to be present? See? That's a state outside of nature. That's a sick ecology. So read the scriptures, find the yogis, ask 10,000 questions, and you'll slowly advance. Never think that it's not possible. Never think that I can't do it or I can do only so much. The whole universe is rooting for you. You don't realize that. It's only because you're in a little tiny psychic box that you're thinking in terms of what your context is of life. That's where the entire universe is pulling for you. You know, trying to get you out of your own psychic cage into the greater existence. You know, this massive life that's present for you. But we're holding on to this tiny box. And my Guruji would talk about it as a person who grasps a cactus and then cries out for help. The teacher says, let go of the cactus. No, they won't let go. You know, they're the source of their own pain. And that's why, let go. Let go. When you let go of the cactus, the natural condition is ease. It's that you were holding the cactus. It was dis-ease. Let go of the cactus. There's ease. There's expansion. There's opportunity. As long as you're holding on to the cactus, where are you going to go? You're only involved in your own suffering. So we have to learn these kinds of things. So the teachers are constantly telling you, let go, be still, see what's really going on. See what's going on between what you think. See? The thinking process is your creation. It's your creation. What is there when you're not thinking? What condition exists when you can put a pause on your thought? What condition is there? What reality is there? See? So by listening to the Dharma teachers, they teach you how to put a pause so that you can see what's going on beyond your creation. So really, if you can simply say, I want to make a journey. I want to make a journey into truth. I want to make a journey into beauty. I want to make a journey into love. I want to know what those things are. What is truth? What is beauty? What is love? I really want to, that's going to be like the subtext of my life, that journey. And then make it as important as your love affair with your husband or your wife, your love affair with your child, your love affair with your parents, your love affair with your acquisition nature. Just make it as important. See, that's all. It just wants a place at the table. See, if you can make it equally as important, you will make tremendous progress. You will have tremendous intimacy. You don't have to become a monk to know God. You don't have to become a monk to experience a life of mystical revelation. Not at all. Not at all. You can have 6 kids, no problem. No problem. You can have a loving, relationship with girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife. No problem. No problem. You can have the highest revelations the human condition can afford in the context of relationship. Definitely possible. Definitely possible. A lot of times in this culture, because we're so young, we think, oh, you have to be a monk. I can't do that stuff. I'm telling you right now, nonsense. Absolute nonsense. If you look at the in India, you had as many saints as householders as saints who were monks. Just as many. All the rishis were married men. They had families, they had children. So it shows it's not just something in a book, it's real. But the thing is, in this country, we think you have to be like a peacock and be up and showcase in a big high seat and all this nonsense. That's not so. Most of the saints are just quiet people with tremendous dynamic intimacy with inner life. Are they going to work and doing their job? Yep. Are they on the freeway driving with us? Yep. Are they tending to children like everybody else? Yep. But when they close their eyes, are they having this dramatic intimacy with divinity and all manner of divine events happening in their life? Yep. Why aren't they talking about it? Because you'd institutionalized them. You wouldn't believe them. You'd lock them up. Most people are not willing or accepting of the dynamism of heaven. So all the mystics learn just to keep a lid on it. Keep it in their heart. Live out their lives, but quietly. Because the average human being doesn't want to hear the dynamism of God. Because that's not part of their reality. That's not the life that they're living. But it is the life that you can live, if you want it. What is truth? What is love? What is beauty? Dig your heels in and look for that. And it'll all happen. Get next to the yogis, next to the Dharma teachers. Learn the craft, the quiet craft. See, this is not a billboard craft. It's a quiet craft that you learn to slowly build into your life. How to pray, when to pray. What is mantra? What mantras to practice? What is meditation? What are the oppositions to all of these divine forces? Because there are oppositions. For every good idea, there's a ton of bad ideas. For every good motivation, there's a ton of bad motivations. You understand where you are. You're not standing in heaven right now. This is a land of mischief, and you're trying to string these pearls together in a land of difficult clay, mud, nonsense, and you're trying to put the pearls together. So you have to understand, the moment you become someone who's trying to weave some pearls together, if you look at your family and friends, and how many people are trying to put the pearls of their consciousness together? What is the deepest love? What is the deepest peace? What is the deepest truth? How many of your friends are doing that? They're all out partying, one way or the other. Is that bad? No, that's fine. But how many of them are really trying to put together the pearls of life and collect them into their hearts and live that out? What is the pearl of compassion? What is the pearl of empathy? What is the pearl of being present? What is the pearl of beauty? Trying to collect it all into my heart and try to live that out? How many people are trying to live out that story? See? So the moment, you have to understand, when you take on that challenge, you are becoming an exceptional person within humanity. You're not becoming part of the crowd. You're becoming exceptional. But in that exceptionalism, you are acquiring real intimacy with God. You are evolving immensely. See? From birth to birth to birth, as you try to collect these pearls, it gets easier and easier and easier. You come with a whole body of skills. Like if I use my own personal life, just for your benefit, when I started my study of meditation as a boy, it was actually quite easy. I see people struggle hard and kill themselves and all that kind of stuff. It's very difficult for them. But because I'd been doing it birth after birth after birth after birth, when I received the instructions in meditation, I just understood what they were talking about. And then when I went to the application, did I have to work like everybody else? Of course I did. But what I was able to get out of it was far more than the average person. Not because I was such a good student, but because I had a whole lot more practice, see, from other prior births. The practice was already there. So when someone told me to sit still and stop the chatter, take a breath, it was natural. It was a muscle I had already exercised in prior births. So I started there and continued on. So the thing is, that's the same thing with you. Each of us has a body of humanity in us, beyond our contrivances. We have a body of humanity in us. We just have to isolate and find what those humane activities were, and then magnify it, and then use that as a springboard for all the other things. See? So some people, they naturally pray. Some people naturally can meditate. Some people are naturally doers. They see something that needs to be done, and they're out there doing it. See? So they have that natural energetic compassion. They call karma yogis. They have a natural energetic capacity. It means they're not sitting on their hands when they see something needs to be done. They're out there doing it. So you have to find what's easiest for you, what's natural for you, and then use it as a springboard for all these other pearls. But you have to think about it. I want to acquire these pearls. I want the pearl of silence. I want the pearl of compassion. I want the pearl of empathy. Think about these things as collecting pearls. I'll show you something. See, this is a pearl mala. Why do you think I have a pearl mala? There's many, many, many levels of that discussion. But one of the levels of that discussion relates directly to my master. Everything my master ever taught me was a pearl. I wear a pearl mala to honor him. Because every time I sat with him, every time I talked with him, every time I was in his presence, I learned something. I received a pearl. So I wear pearls now to remember my master. There's other reasons, but that was actually my genesis reason. There's other reasons, but that was the genesis of it. So every day, if you take me and took me upside down and shake me, all kinds of malas will be dropping out of my pockets, dropping around, It becomes part of your who you are, how you define yourself. It becomes part of your day to day. It's not jewelry. It's not jewelry. A mala is about remembrance. Remembrance of some aspect of God. That is what a mala is about. It is not jewelry. See? So there's no day you'll find me with not wearing a mala. Because it's a persistent remembrance of a pearl. So my master's pearl of consciousness. So that reflection is always there of my master's pearl of consciousness. See? Which keeps me on track. It's a visceral physical tool to keep me on track, to remember the purpose and the trajectory of my life. See? If I just was not to use any kind of tool, then I can wander this way and wander that way and get into natural mischief. Which is us, a natural mischief. But you acquire these little tools to keep us on track. Like there's all kinds of, devotional images in the house. One of it is natural reverence to these things. But the other thing is I realize the amount of opposition there is in the world that will pull my mind away from those things. It could be pleasant things, but not the pearls of what's most important. That's the key. If you want to make progress, evolutionary progress, you have to say what's most important, and then you have to fight for that. See? And I know that my mother, my brother, my sister, my friends are going to pull me this way, which is natural. They're going to make me go sort of horizontally. When I want to ascend, all these kinds of elements are tools of ascension. They make my minds go up, not laterally. All of my mother, my brother, my sister, my friends, it's all lateral movement. It's all good, nothing matter with it. But I'm not heading up, I'm not heading north. So I have all these things to remind me. And I know about myself, Hari is full of infinite mischief. So I have to tether myself to infinite stuff to inspire me. Otherwise, I had to have a great master. Otherwise, I'd be great mischief. Heaven sent a mega master, to keep me out of trouble. So you have to realize, So you have all these wonderful images of God and such to inspire your mind. If you think about Wall Street, it's like infinite creative mischief. Infinite creative mischief. Every way to empty your pocket. Or politics, infinite mischief. So here we have infinite sanctity. So that we constantly are thinking about the pearls. If your life becomes about what is beauty, what is compassion, what is silence. And that becomes like the principal thing that your mind is constantly rotating on. What is prayer? And your mind is always ruminating on that. Don't you think you've made a whole lot of progress in your life? That this is called the law of displacement. Whatever you're working on psychically is displacing everything else. So if you're thinking about the pearls of compassion, pearls of silence, pearls of wisdom, pearls of dharma, isn't that displacing anything else, everything else, and anything not like it? See? So you have to understand, practice these arts of displacement so that your life becomes about true love, not my love, true love. See? Compassion, silence. Make that the source of your rumination. And then all of a sudden, that love, that silence, that compassion just sort of bleeds out into all your other activities. You know, you don't have to make it into your activity. Just think about it a lot. You know, try to deconstruct it. And as you do that, it just enters into all your other portions of life, where everything about your life becomes an experiment in compassion, an experiment in being present, an experiment in truly listening. You know, it becomes an experiment where you can say, how do these energies manifest? You know, how do they become alive and real? See, so you start to work with big forces, tremendous forces. And it's not about me, 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 me. You're just trying to understand how nature works in essence. That becomes your life process. How does nature work in essence? In its essence, how does it work? And if you can take the word me out of it, you've moved the biggest obstruction right there. Just, what are the physics of love? You know, what is the physics of truth? You know, what is the physics of compassion? Just get wrapped up in that. You know, not my compassion, my love, my truth. Get off that. Just, what is the physics of love? What is the physics of compassion? What is the physics of being present? What is the physics of silence? Make that your thing. And then, you know, you'll make tremendous progress. You know, and it won't just be like in your head. You know, heaven will actively get engaged in your life. You will meet masters. You know, you'll meet saints. Even the angels themselves you'll get to meet. Right now we think, oh, I'm hoping they're angels, but I really don't know. Practice. Practice. See for yourself. See for yourself. You know, humans are not the only intelligent species. Get over that arrogance. This is not the only loka. This is not the only realm. Come on. You know, Galileo got into trouble saying that, you know, telling people that the earth was not the center of the universe. He got into a lot of trouble. But that's the same consciousness that we have today, that we think that the human condition is the only important, intelligent, creative condition. That's nonsense. Utter nonsense. Get over that nonsense. You know, sit. Be quiet. Be present. You'll see for yourself. You'll see that this is not the only kingdom. See? So, all of these types of things will expand your consciousness, and from birth after birth, you'll make great progress, and then, you know, over time, and you will at some time, you'll meet great masters, and they'll be able to sit with you and discuss in detail, in this birth this is what you're doing, in this birth this is what you're doing, in this birth this is what you're doing. And because of this cumulative line of activity, in this birth, these are the conditions that you should do. So there's certain pilgrimages you should do, there's certain mantras you should do, there's certain meditations you should do, there's certain actions you should do. Just like that. It'll be laid out very clear, very plainly. You know, this is natural. Maybe because you haven't experienced it, it sounds like a little bit myth, but expect these things. You know, read scriptures, and trust them. Trust them more than your own mind. Find real saints and trust their literature. Why is what in your mind trumping what saints have to say? Isn't that a profound arrogance? To think you know more, that you have more experience than them? Please, trust them. Put aside your arrogance and run honest experiments. So, at the end of the day, you have tremendous opportunity to make tremendous spiritual advancement in this life. You simply do. But you have to understand your position. The same investment you make in loving your parents, in loving your significant other, in loving your children, make at least equal investment in that loving search for what is truth, what is beauty, what is God. Just make equal investment. Like we know how much I love my child, how much I love my husband. We know that by feeling. So let's try to generate an equal investment in saying, fall in love with truth. See? Fall in love with what is truth. Fall in love with what is silence. Fall in love with what is compassion. And so you have to think about these things and then fall in love. When you met your husband, you didn't love him right away. There was a slow coming together. Introduction, learning about each other, appreciating each other. Same thing with truth. Same thing with learning about love itself. If you don't know what love is, look at a baby. Just look at a baby and start to study them. Just stop thinking and start looking. Did anybody teach the baby how to embrace the mother or the father? Did anybody teach that baby that? What energy are they using? Just copy it. Try to get in touch with what you were. See? Get in touch with what you've forgotten. See? It's there. You forgot it. You got diverted. You got distracted. You entered your own dramatic dream. See? Nobody taught the baby how to love. Nobody taught the baby how to laugh. Nobody taught the baby how to embrace. Nobody taught the baby how to smile. See? Get back. Look what you forgot. Look what you forgot. See? So anyway, these are the things that we have to do. I forgot. I'm supposed to wear this today. My friend came back from Vietnam, and he brought this for me. So, in honor of my friend, Christopher Moses Johnson gave this to me. He brought this back from Asia. He also brought me this bell. Isn't that lovely? Now, not only is it lovely in sound, but ask yourself the question, why is every place on the planet where there's sacred things going on, there's bells also? Why is that? It's not like they were all talking to each other, but they all have bells, whether it's temple bells or ankle bells or whatever kind of bell. It's because that bell is a universal, has a universal sound. If in deep mysticism you can enter into silence and then learn to start to hear the various cosmic sounds, one of the internal cosmic sounds that exists is the bell. That sound exists in every human being, the bell. So, and it always has to do with the nature of a saint's heart. So why are all these big temples ringing bells? It's a part of your own saintly nature being externalized. See, in the form of a bell. If you sit and learn the proper technique, and you all can, it's just a matter of concentration, you'll hear that grand bell ringing inside of you. That and many other sounds. But it's that sanctified heart. That's all ringing inside of you. It's just that you've lost touch with yourself. That's the problem. You've lost touch with your native self. You know, you've developed your own psychic drama that has sort of denatured you. You've become lost in your own psychic forest. So be still, learn to pray, read the scriptures, get next to the yogis. You'll advance rapidly. Rapidly. You know, you won't. Normal human progress is like a snail, really very slow. Natural, no problem, not bad. But if you want to accelerate the process, get next to the yogis, because they're living out the craft of sanctity. That's their craft. See, that's their vocation. That's all of their psychic energy is being put towards that. And then you'll learn, you know, and you'll become a knower, and a doer of heaven's will as opposed to your will. See? You know, Jesus was a servant. Buddha was a servant. See? All the saints are servants of the reality. Who are you serving? Think about it. Who are you serving? Primarily self-interest. Primarily self-interest. See? That's why you learn to become silent. And in the silence, you become aware of universal forces. Not personal forces. Universal forces. See? So how can a saint defeat pride? By taking a deep look at the reality and realizing, whoa, I'm nothing. And automatically everybody's head comes down when you realize that you're not the peacock. You know, you're not the big thing on the block. You naturally become humble. All the saints' heads are bowed because they can see. And then they seek only to take their place within that cosmic reality. Not greater, not lesser. See? They find their place in existence. Not diminished, not elevated, just joyfully placed. See? They're balanced. They're emotionally, psychically balanced. See? They don't seek dominion over anybody. Nobody. See? That's what. Look at all our human egos. You know, I want to be this. I want to be that. I want to control this. I want to control that. The saint doesn't want to control anything. They just want to be present with God and fulfill God's will. That's it. It stops there. Full stop. See? It's a much simpler life. No dominion. You know, humans dominion, ego. You know, we're more than the animal. We're more than the earth. We're more than the sky. We're more than others. From our perspective, that's mental illness. That's how we define mental illness. But there's an antidote. Prayer, mantra, meditation, divine association. Any questions? Hari's droning on now. Too much? Enough already. Yes?
Thank you for your talk. And I'm trying to figure out prayer and meditation, prayer versus meditation. So
Not versus, complementary.
well, complementary, the differences.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking that meditation is more like listening.
Correct.
Being still and listening. And prayer, there's some talking and maybe some talking and listening. Maybe a dialogue. Is that?
That's correct. That's very correct. Prayer is definitely a divine dialogue. Definitely a divine dialogue. And it really is, just like you and I are conversing right now. It's just in the beginning, it seems like one way, like we're saying prayer, we're like throwing a voice out into the universe. But that's only because we haven't learned to listen yet. You know, we're impatient and we're unskilled. We just have to learn to pray with faith and then be present. But see, our minds are so like going all over the place that the message comes and we miss it. You know, so we have to pray and then wait. We have so much noise in our head that when heaven whispers, we don't hear. So we have to say, I am present. Like, I am listening to you. Like, there could be like 10 conversations going on in the room, but I am listening to you. I'm not listening to any of the other dialogues, just to you. So when we pray, we have to have that. Because often we'll say a prayer, and then we have 10 other dialogues going on in our head. So we're not really being present. So we don't hear. You know, we're still following other conversations. And when you pray, you have to be dedicated to that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
See? It'll come quite naturally, you know.
Well, and then when praying, it seems okay to ask for help in something.
Absolutely.
But it seems kind of arrogant to say, please do this, whatever that may be.
You're correct, yeah. Well, it's best, it depends. It's, you know, like everything, there's enlightened praying and unenlightened praying. You know, ultimately heaven wants the best for you. And you have to turn that over to heaven to judge what is best. Otherwise, we're trying to say my opinion trumps your opinion. And we're the junior partner here. So we have to just understand that. So we pray for God's action, intervention, and for the best to occur. And we can also pray to understand, you know, how heaven is working it out. You know, as opposed to saying, I want it done this way, like McDonald's. Mm-hmm. We ask, and we can ask for understanding. You know, it's okay to ask. You can ask all you want. There's no problem. But be present. You know, don't have 10 dialogues, you know, going on in your head. You know, be present and be listening and understand we're a junior partner. And then prayer becomes quite natural. Quite natural. And there's so many benefits. So many benefits. Because ultimately you'll become an instrument of prayer. See? You're not just jinn. You're jinn who becomes sanctified and an instrument of prayer. See? A whole other aura, a whole other mantle, a whole other experience will come to you. See? Right now, you're saying your prayers in your own box. And you have to learn to say your prayers and let go of the box and become part of the universe. See? You're a drop of water in a river. See? You have to accept the river, not just stay as a drop. You know, you're part of a great flow. But that means you have to relax and concentrate and simply accept God. God's will, God's way. That's the big thing to understand. What is God's will and how does he want it done? Or how does it want it done? See? So we have to learn not our way, but thy way. As long as we want it our way, we're tying heaven's hands. You know, we're saying, we want your blessing to come through this tiny little nozzle. You know, as opposed to we're dealing with an infinite intelligence, infinite creativity. And we only have a thread of awareness. And that's an infinite creative. So we have to let it do its thing and us learn. You know, learn about that infinite creativity. Because then we see all kinds of things that we never imagined. See? Our lens of perception is so painfully tiny. And that's when you can learn proper meditation, where you go through expansion, 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 expansion. You know, we realize that we were like working with the consciousness of an ant, you know, and we think we have the consciousness of an elephant, you know. But so you have to do these kinds of practices so that you go through these expansions and you realize, oh my God, I had no idea how arrogant, innocent. We're innocent, but a type of arrogance where the ant thinks it's the elephant. See, so we just have to learn to be present and to be open. And sort of see what God is doing, you know, as we can slowly break our small psychic shell and open up. It takes a lot of time and takes a lot of courage, you know, to get beyond our own safe limitations. See? So, but pray. And learn to pray for the welfare of others. You know, that should become your disposition. You know, just learning to pray for the welfare of others. And there's many ways of doing that, and we can have many conversations on that. You know, let's give you a So make it practical. So like, before I get out of bed in the morning, first I bring my mind to my master. So you want to attach to something significant, something sanctified and significant. And then, so I've been sleeping all night, so that means my subconscious has been very active. My conscious mind is taking a break, but my unconscious mind is active during the dream state. So the impressions of the subconscious are going to be a little bit more dominant before I get very active in the mind. So whatever the first 5 individuals that arise in my mind, those are the first people I pray for in the morning. It could be anybody, you know. I have no idea. It's out of the subconscious. So those are the first people I pray for. I pick the first 5 that arise in my psyche, and I pray for them. Then I get out of bed and I go do my other practices and whatever else I have to do. But then I also make a point of any person that I meet during the course of the day. So it means I have to pay attention. You know, whether it's a clerk, or it's a bus driver, or it's a friend that comes by, I make a mental list in my mind. In the back of my mind, I'm keeping a catalog of every person. And then at some point during the day, sometimes during the day, or sometimes at the end of the day, I will go through and start with the very first person, and I'll say a prayer for the welfare of each of those persons. See, but the thing is this over time, this becomes your disposition. So you get this disposition of goodwill, see? And you get this disposition of openness to God, because you're always thinking about God in prayer. And that you become an instrument of God's love, God's presence, God's purpose. May that bless them. See? So you become a sort of a living conduit. And in the beginning, it might be like an intellectual, academic exercise, but later on, it becomes a very natural. Just like when you feel love, you can feel love. There's no maybe that you feel it or not. So when God's breath flows through you, there's no maybe about it. You know, when you embrace your child, is there maybe you love, or is there love? The same thing with prayer. When you learn to pray for people in a loving, kind way, just for their welfare, you don't want anything from them. You just want love of God, light of God, bless this person. That same loving embrace flows right through you. You can feel it. It's not maybe. So you're like learning to bathe in this kind of energy, and you learn to do it every day. So that becomes part of your hidden disposition. See, that becomes part of your psychic stance. See, so does anybody see that alchemy that's going on in you? No. Maybe they might sense, oh, this person's a little bit nice person, but they don't know the dynamism of it. But you do. You do. You'll feel it every time. Once you get past a little threshold of the meism and just allow heaven to do its thing, you know, why do you think the yogis are quietly inside happy? Because they're bathing in this energy of loving prayer that's flowing through them. It's not them. They're just a conduit. They're linking to it. And they're directing it in the world. So they become an agent of God in the world. See? Who can't do that? Who amongst us can't do that? Of course we can. Nobody told you to do it. Nobody told you to be persistent. See? To do it come what may. See? Whether you're well, whether you're ill, doesn't make a difference. Doesn't make any difference. Still pray. See? There's things like that that are so simple that you can do. You know, you can make all types of things, you know, like that. There's many, many others I could discuss. But these are things that we learn to put in our day. You know, that changes our internal reality. It doesn't change the external reality. The world's going to be the world. The world's full of mischief, up and down. It's going to do its thing. But God gave us the right of choosing. So I choose God. I choose prayer. I choose silence. And that's where I stand. I dig my heels in there. The world's going to do what the world's going to do. But this is what I'm going to do. God gave me free will. See? So we can all do that. And by doing that, you'll make tremendous progress. You'll acquire tremendous intimacy. You know, the idea of God and mysticism and all this kind of stuff will become a living reality. It's not mythological or hopeful maybes. It'll become, it'll become part of the physics of your life. See? So silence will become real silence. And prayer will become real prayer. And mantra will become real dynamic alchemy. See, in our job, there's no more maybe. Maybe means you don't know. But when you truly practice correctly, there's no more maybe. And there's no more maybe about God. It becomes a living revelation in your life. There's no more maybe. Maybe means you don't know. So the process of yoga is to know. To know for sure, to know personally, to know intimately. That's real yoga. And get next to people that can teach you that. If some teacher's saying maybe, that's the time to head for the door. Thank you very much. See you later. So these are the things. It's a craft. Learn these things. These are can do. You'll make a lot of progress. But make God equal at the table of your life. See? Equal to the love of your significant other. The love of your parent, love of your child. Make as much as energy as you put towards that relationship also. Just bring heaven to the table. Massive progress. Massive progress. Any other thoughts?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm dying to ask a question.
That's good.
For my dearly beloved aunt, my aunt, who's this very, I think, spiritually very bright person, but has suffered a lot of misfortune. And though she's very warm-hearted, very unconditionally loving to many people in her family, she lost her husband and two of her children to cancer. Her husband, lived a long, full life and died, a few years ago. But her eldest son died of cancer after many years of fighting it, and then her second eldest son also, became schizophrenic. Was hit with schizophrenia in his mid-20s, and eventually died, in a kind of a difficult way, a number of years ago. So that family has suffered a lot of misfortune, and I've talked to her about God and in some ways, but she absolutely does not believe in God. And when I try to say, and her main reason is, if there was a benevolent God, what about these misfortunes that happen to people who in no way you can see, good people suffer tremendous misfortune. If there was a benevolent God, why would he, quote unquote, allow these things to happen? I don't know how to answer that. What would you say to someone?
Well, we don't always have to give an answer.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. If faith is present, then you can discuss faith in God. If faith is not present, you have to find some facility or some human experience that leads towards it. So this primary way and then the secondary way. Sometimes primary you can't go directly at the problem. But suffering exists. That is part of the nature of life. When a person is being hammered with suffering, it's hard for them to expand their psyche to realize that suffering is universal. Because for them, at that point, suffering is just intimately personal. It's me.
No,
me.
she could see that it's universal. I mean, that's evident to any intelligent person. The question is, if there is a benevolent God, why does the benevolent God allow this to happen?
The answer can't always be given immediately, because we're dealing with the incorrect context. Even the context that question is asked in is not correct. We're making assumptions that we are living one life and that life is the whole thing. But if you have 100,000 lives and you have a couple that are rough, doesn't the context change? Like if I have one sick day out of 10,000 well days, isn't it a different context? That one sick day is just 1/1000th. But you can't say that to a person. They're not going to understand that because their context is this is it.
Limited, sure.
So if as long as they're accepting that as that as the context as a truth, you can't tell a higher truth when they're locked into a lower perception. So sometimes you can't ask, you can't give an answer, but you can just lovingly say, well, I don't understand, but let's do this good, or let's do that good, and leave it at that. You know, what kindness, in the crisis that we exist, what kindness can we exercise? And let's take the idea of God off the table. That's okay. You know, we make incremental steps. See?
I just wish you could have the comfort of some faith and a benevolence.
Well,
and a benevolence in the world, in the universe of that kind.
You can help her then. See, maybe she can't help herself, but if you can touch some true love, kindness, empathy in your heart, while touching that, say prayers for her welfare.
Mm-hmm.
And that can make a difference. So heaven can work through you to comfort her and to lift her. Sometimes you can't come at something directly. You got to come at it from the side or above or below. You know, not everyone is direct knowledge. Direct knowledge only when someone is fiercely strong. You know, other than that, you have to ease a person into seeing, into being.
I can certainly pray for her.
Of course.
Jin taught me of this idea, of this practice of what you learned from you, of praying for people, of, asking God to bless them, just anybody in your mind. And I've done it a few times, and it is wonderful, the effect on me. It's true, like you're saying. You really feel, it really expands your heart and makes you feel a wonderful, benevolent feeling.
One of the things that is important is that we're not aware of how many infinite unconscious prejudices we have. I'm not saying it in a bad way, but maybe I don't like tall people, I don't like wide people, I don't like this color, or I don't like this race, I don't like this history, I don't like this nationality. There's all kinds of unconscious, I don't like red hair, whatever your thing is. I mean, somebody punched you in the nose that had red hair when you were a kid.
It cleans that stuff
Yeah, so
up a bit. Yes.
this is what, heaven is putting all of these different people into your life. You don't get to choose what kind of person God puts into your life that day. But you become an instrument of prayer for that person. And that softens your heart. Because at that point, you have to have empathy and compassion and love for any being that's put into your life. Not any being that you like or you're comfortable with. Any being. See? And then, in the beginning, you work with what you know, which is just the human condition. But later on, as you're learning in that Bay meditation that we do once a month, to learn to pray for all elements of life. The earth, the sky, the air, the water, the grasses, where you can extend your kindness, your empathy, and your intelligence, and pray for their welfare. So that, again, expansion, and you're expanding not only your heart, but you're expanding your mind. Because before we said, oh, that dumb piece of wood, or that dumb piece of grass, that insignificant earth. See? But now, if you have to be present, and you have to release your arrogance of I am more important than that stone, as opposed to just being, this is the body of creation, this is the body of creation. And your warmth, your humanity, to extend your humanity to this creation, to that creation. Haven't you changed? You know, aren't you evolving? Aren't you acquiring intimacy? See, this is what we must learn. You know, the arrogance of man must be washed, and innocent creative knowing must arise. Innocent creative knowing must arise. See? Not the arrogance of man. Okay. Any other thoughts? Creations, ideas? Is your new friend doing okay? Yo, any thoughts, my friend? Yeah. If anything sounds funny, just ask me. Okay, son. Bun, anything? Have I pronounced your name correctly?
That's right.
I'm hoping. Just correct me. Any other thoughts, Craig?
Well, I was kind of wondering how, like, so you get past your, so like all the things I've been saying, I totally want, you know, to do, but I find that it's amazing how creative my own delusions are, you know. So, like, it's just so hard to get past them, you know. Like, so it's like when I say, okay, well, those are the things I want, so I'm definitely going to meditate tomorrow. But then there's like a million things that seem to want to oppose that. And then, so how do you develop the strength to just
take on the challenges that you can do? Prayer is easier than meditation. Mantra is easier than meditation. Meditation takes tremendous dedication. But, you know, you can say, anytime I feel fear, anytime I feel anxiety, just say mantra, Om Shinama Jainama Jai Ram. Whatever mantra, Om Namah Shivaya, whatever mantra that means something to you, you know. Or anytime I feel anxiety, or anytime I feel fear, to just say a very, not a big long prayer, a very short prayer. You know, may I, oh Heavenly Mother, Father God, may I stand in your loving presence. May I have the strength of your presence. Boom. You know, write out some little short prayer that has meaning. Anytime you feel anxiety, anytime you feel fear, just make a moment of connection. Just a moment of connection. See, and it'll grow. It'll grow. You got to start somewhere. Later on, when you have more dedication, more time, okay, I'm going to sit, you know, between this hour and this hour, I'm going to sit, do meditation, I'm going to follow the instructions. See? But you can pray anytime. You can remember God's name anytime. See? So that's like a universal utility. You know. Later on, you'll be able to meditate anytime, in a moment. But that takes much more strength, much more training. See? But you can pray because you have a living heart. You're connected to love all the time. You know, you have children, so you immediately know the feeling of love. You have a wife, you have immediately kind of feeling of love. Bring that, and then to bring the idea of God, beneficence, and then just learn to stand in that for a moment, and then get into your day. But see, you have to find a place to stand. See, we're all using our minds, so we have like 10,000 billion ideas, and we're trying to stand in each one of these points. It makes us nuts, you know. But if we can learn to stand for a moment in a prayerful moment of love, and then arise out of that, you can do that. Everybody can do that. See, the deep silence and insight of meditation takes more training, you know. But the love of your heart is always present. It's easy. Or the remembrance of God's name is easy. See? And we learn to practice all of it. But over time, when you have the time and situation, then you can understand the fire of meditation. The silent fire that you have to acquire. But that takes much more training, much more determination. See? But prayer and mantra, now, immediate, can be done. You know, and you learn to build it in. You know, another practice that I do, and I'm telling you these practices, so maybe you can pick up some of these practices. Anytime I pass through a threshold, just take a day and ask yourself, how many doors have I walked through? Just start counting. How many doors have you walked through in a day? Now, if every time you walk through a door, you say a prayer for may all be well. You know, just get the idea when you're going through a door, as you pass through the door, psychically from your heart, I don't know any of these people in the room, but just say, may all be well. I pray for everyone's prosperity. Doesn't that change your psychic disposition? When you pass through a door, you're moving from one realm to another realm, from one condition to another condition. But you enter that condition with a beneficent heart. See? You become a person of goodwill. See? That's where you stand. You know, how many of us stand in all forms of anxiety, all forms of tension? You know, if you could see what I would see, sometimes you'd put a bag over your head. How much unbelievable psychic tension people live in. They stand in it. You know, it's like standing in a cesspool, and they don't realize it. But if they can learn to stand in a prayerful, loving thought, and then emerge from that, time and time and time again, you know, you don't have to stand in your fear. You don't have to stand in your frustration. Just take a moment. Take a pause. And then come from that. See? Most of us stand in our fear. Most of us stand in our frustration, and we live from there. And the yogi says, why? Why? When you can take a pause and stand in a prayer, or stand in God's name, or stand in God's presence. You know, and it'll become more and more and more visceral. You know, just like if you and I were to stand in the rain, how visceral that is. The energy of God, when you can properly attune yourself, that energy will just descend upon you. You'll become immersed in it. See, just like being immersed in the rain, the same thing will happen, but that sanctified energy will just descend upon you. See, and then you learn to stand in that. You learn to work from that. See, so now nobody can see this, but your personal experience, that's what it'll be. And that's why I want you to study yoga, so that you can come from that place. Will it take time? Yes. Can you do it? Definitely. Definitely.
Hari, can I add a question that kind of adds to that?
Yes, my dear.
We're in our fear place most of the time.
Yeah.
One thing that I still struggle with in a big way is when there's an injustice that happens to you. Mm-hmm. How do you get your brain to stop obsessing about it for days, months? I mean, I can meditate and I can pray, and it's still just there's anger that just festers, and I don't know how to let it go.
It's tough, and that's a good and honest question. Basically, what I do, because we all get kicked. Walking down the street, someone socks us in the nose. What the heck did I do? So you're frustrated, you're angry, and it's like definitely was unjust. Mm-hmm. The thing is when you have time, is to sit down with a mala and practice your mantra japa until you emotionally cooled out. And then get up and go with your day. Now the next day, you're irritated. That guy popped me in the nose. I'm still upset about it. They took the promotion that I should have gotten and they stole my data. Definitely wrong. Again, take your mala out, sit down. You have to keep opposing that anger and that frustration using God's name. Constantly God's remembrance. So that over time, the energy of the mantra will trump the sense of injustice. And we just have to keep neutralizing it.
So it'll reduce the amount of obsession time.
Yeah. And we have to be more relentless with God's name than our psyche has to do with our sense of injustice. See? So that's like the principal way. That's like the principal way of doing it. And then on a secondary level, which is a little bit difficult, I said, I've had infinite amount of births. I'm sure I was a bandit at some time. That something comes from something. So if some mischief comes my way, most likely I've dealt out some mischief. Now, that's the secondary way also. Because I figure, like my van got robbed just last week. Was I upset? Yeah. My tools are like in the wind. It gives me a big headache. But I'm thinking, okay, Hari, how many births have you had? You know, how many times have you probably been abandoned? Something comes from something. So even though in the moment I may appear to be completely innocent, in the expanse of time, how innocent have I been? Okay? Something comes from something. So Hari's been abandoned. Just be honest about it. He may be like trying to be a good dude now, but maybe he's a bandit before, most likely. Okay, just being real about
I
it.
guess you would know.
Just, in the infinite expanse of time, we've played every role. Every drama we've played out. So, it might be an unfortunate balancing of the scales. It could have happened in some other way, but this is how it's happened. Just say, okay, God, Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai, Om Shri Ram. Just as much negativity is coming my way, I'm going to balance it with sanctity, with persistent remembrance until it's neutralized. See? Just like water neutralizes the stone, softens the stone. Same thing. So as difficult as the nonsense is and as unjust as it may be, God's name, God's name, God's name, God's name, God's name. Who did Jesus take offense? Who did Buddha take offense with?
So you detach. Ultimately, it becomes less.
It's not detaching per se. It's sort of just a persistent washing of our heart of any hardness. See? It's a persistent washing of our heart of any hardness. And understanding that the understanding that will come may not be present now, but will come. See? So we don't understand the karma. Every action is a karma. It came from somewhere. See? And it came to your doorstep, so there's a reason. There's a reason it came to your step, though it may be visibly not recognizable at this time. But for whatever reason it's come to your door, we have to just use the methodology of sanctity. And that's it.
Thank you.
We work our way. We work our way through. We soften our anger with God's name and God's remembrance, and that's it. And we do it and do it and do it until the anger is dust. It's no more. See, we have to be more persistent than the hardness of the heart. That's it. No easy way through that. See, no easy way. Just to work. See? Other thoughts, questions? That was a good question. Yes.
What does it mean? What does bless mean? Like when you say, "May God bless so and so." I realize I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Really. I'd like to have more of a clear idea, because then I can wish that for a person.
Well, you can find the purest, most altruistic experience of love in your heart, and that will be the start of blessings. That will be its beginning point.
So that's kind of a way I can try to use that to wish God's blessing on
Yes.
someone.
Yes. Find kind, altruistic, loving feeling in your heart, and then generate that and extend that.
Okay.
That is the beginning of it. That's not only what blessing is, but that's the place to start. And it'll become a living experience. In deeper and deeper blessing comes greater and greater revelation. See? Meaning knowledge of God. That'll happen over time, but you have to find the thread to pull on. So you have to find that thread in your heart first. Extend that, and then the rest of the reality will come. Okay, go, go, go. She's heading off to this Buddhist monastery. Okay. So that's where you start. And over time, blessing will become like a living reality, a living experience. Just like if you and I dove into a river, the moment you hit the river, there's an experience.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's also a river of sanctity that's as visceral as you and I jumping into a real river. It's as visceral as that.
So in my intention to have God bless someone, the way to do that is for me to try to have this own sense of altruistic love for the person. They're kind of, it's the same thing.
You need a place to start, and that's the place to start. That's not the end
It
result.
sort of sounds like me trying to get me to bless the person.
No.
Okay.
It's just a place to start. It's not the end result.
Okay.
You know, in the beginning, because the mind is wrapped up in meism, that we couch the blessing in meism. But later on, as you can hold on to this sense of universal altruism, it'll become like air or water or earth. It's a natural presence. It has nothing to do with you per se, but it's a natural presence. You're learning to touch a natural presence in yourself. See?
Okay.
It happens over time. So like when a yogi blesses a person, like it was a deep shock in my life when I could touch somebody or touch anything and a blessing flowed through me. That was a major shock. Major shock. I mean, who expects that to happen? You know, who expects that? You're just living as a normal human being, and then you touch someone and you can feel the sanctity of God rush through you. You know, or you even touch an inanimate object and you can feel a living prayer rush through you. That's a mental shock. But that's part of the natural evolution of the human condition, from moving from a common man to more potentiality. See? So the yogi's life becomes a living blessing. Our life becomes a living prayer. You know. So even like a simple discipline that you and I are in men bodies right now. You know, for maybe 30 years, there's no time in the last 30 years I've ever physically, like if I shook this lady's hand or anything like that, not said a prayer. You know? Immediately just, I say God's name anytime I touch any woman. Now who's going to see that? Nobody sees that. But this is part of a mental conditioning. So that the best comes through without, because we all are primal creatures. We all have instinctual lives. But now let's say, I just want something good to happen without any of the history of being a man being present.
I get it.
See? I just want good for goodness sakes. Not good based on anything of Hari. Just good for goodness sake. So you do that kind of, this is a type of a tantric discipline that we imply. And then we become more and more neutral, where there's no, I want this based on any psychological dynamics in this creative condition called Haricharan. See? I just want good for goodness sakes. Good based on God's love. That's it. It stops there. It stops there. There's no tinge of the dynamics of Haricharan. Just the dynamics of God. See? So if you start to do these types of disciplines, when you touch things, there's a natural blessing that flows. The natural blessing that flows. Just like when your mother hugged you as a child, or anyone who truly loved you as a child, that love that they gave you is a natural blessing. See? Now the difference is that that love that they're contained becomes bigger and sanctified. See? And it just flows naturally. No one said, "Mother, open your heart. Mother, kiss the baby." It was just natural. See? And that's what I'd like you to come to, is that there's a natural blessing that flows through you. Absolutely natural. And it starts to flow in more and more and more ways. See? These are living things. You haven't experienced these things yet. But your attitude should be, if Haricharan can experience these things, and if this has become natural to Haricharan's life, You should absolutely say it can become natural to your life. I am not unique. Not at all. Not at all. I've just exercised what is ultimately most natural. I've made it my priority. See? That's all. I made these natural things my priority. And then all these divine natural events are present. Are present. That's it. But not unique in humans. It's just part of the evolutionary arc of the being a human. You know, but just more open human being. See? It's natural for everybody. But you have to exercise your talent. You have to exercise your sanctity. See? You have to exercise your remembrance. And then that's what happens. That's just what happens. See? Any other questions, ideas, thoughts? Phone? Somewhere back there? Okay. But this is the whole thing of this satsang, is so that you can talk to someone who's involved in these experiments and has some level of success in these experiments. A yogi should only speak from what they know. We shouldn't speak from conjecture. You know, if somebody's out there philosophizing, again, get up and run. Just run. You know, save yourself, for God's sakes. Yogis should speak from what they know, from what's part of their living experience. And then, you know, so you want to study engineering? Go find a good engineer. You want to be a doctor? Go find a good doctor. You know, not someone who's philosophizing about doctoring or engineering. Go find out someone who's made that their life's dedication. Then you'll learn the craft. It's an apprenticeship. I've apprenticed with my master. You know, birth after birth after birth, and I'll continue into the future. It's an apprenticeship. You know, and it's your choice when you choose to get serious. You know, when you choose to make God and divinity at least equal to everything else that you love in life. At least equal to everything else you love in life. You know, I didn't have to give up pizza or, you know, going to the theater or being a husband. I didn't have to give up anything. You know, but I made heaven, you know, the foundation of everything. It's the foundation of everything. Any closing thoughts? I'm tired of hearing Hari. It's too much. Too much. Okay, any closing thoughts, questions? Okay, then we'll sit up erect. We'll chant Om 3 times. Om will take you home. So we'll take a deep breath in. Then a moment of silence. and gently take a deep breath in. And then release the breath. And then gently open the eyes. Thank you very much, one and all. Ram Ram, Krishna, coming.